And welcome back to the Northridge 4x4 Do-It-Yourself Garage, and today we're going to be talking rock sliders. Now, as you probably know, the Rubicon models of the JL, JT, and even the JK have these factory rock sliders on them. And, well, they work, but there are a few problems with them. Problem number one, well, they're not very wide, and so they don't push the sheet metal away from that obstacle or that rock, log, stump, whatever that you're trying to get around. So if you were to lean the body a little bit, it's really easy to get into the sheet metal and cause some damage. Problem number two is, well, it's the same as problem number one. They're not very wide, and so they don't make a very good step. And as you lift your Jeep, having that extra width on your rock rail, well, that really helps out. Problem number three is that the factory rock rails are only held onto the sheet metal of the body by a handful of fasteners. And so if you watch that clip again, you'll notice that as it hits the rock, it's actually flexing and moving. Well, to fix all three of those problems, we're going to be installing a set of ARB Rock Sliders. These are made from 4 mil thick, or just about 3/16 of an inch thick sheet metal that has been CNC laser cut and then CNC bent. And the engineers at ARB have designed all those bends to give these rock sliders a lot of strength. Now, we all know ARB's reputation for building high quality off-road accessories, and these rock sliders are no exception. So instead of talking more about these rock sliders, let's just show you how they're installed. The factory rock rails are held in by 4 13 mil head bolts that goes directly up into the floor pan. And then you have 8 10 millimeter nuts that go into the pinch seam. Next up is to remove the 3 body mount bolts down the side. You're going to need 18 mil socket, and the best thing to do is throw a little heat on them. Take a propane torch, heat it up a little bit, give it some time, heat it up again, and be very careful. And with that little bit of heat, it'll help break that Loctite from the factory, and you can unscrew these. Now, they have been known to break, and you don't want to break a body bolt because trying to get the old broken piece out is a nightmare. Now you're going to want to grab your ARB body mount, or what we would call a rocker guard. Set that down, and you're going to grab 11 of these captive nut or spring nuts, and they'll fit in from the bottom side. It's easiest if you use a small screwdriver. We're going to take that rocker guard, set it in place up against the underside of the ARB rock rail, and we have these pan head screws that are going to drop down from the top. Make sure that gap is at a bare minimum. All right, and it's ready to test fit up against the body. This is a transfer punch to mark the upper back hole. ARB recommends a 6 mil drill bit. We're going to use a 15/64. All right, so now we need to pull these rock sliders back off. And we're going to take a 25/64 drill bit and drill those 2 holes out. You want to paint any exposed metal. Then we want to install the NUTSERTS in the front and rear holes. There's many different tools that you can use to do this. We cheat a little bit with this really nice pneumatic unit. Throw a little RTV. Now we're going to go along and center punch all of the holes on the rocker guard. Now we're back to our 15/64 drill bit. And now we got to pull that rock slider off another time. So now we're back to our 25/64 drill bit. And one of the ways that you can ensure that you're accurate in stepping up your hole size is to use these step style drill bits. We got ours from Matco. They can be a little hard to find, but they make getting your holes perfectly enlarged really nice. So now, before we get to drilling these holes here, we want to loosen up the 2 bolts down on the pinch seam. You don't need to remove them, just loosen them up a few turns. And we're going to go up into the door. And we want to loosen up this bolt here. And the one up here between the hinges. That'll allow the bottom of this fender to pull out just a little bit. This is a standard length bolt that ARB sends. We've already got some anti-seize on it. Then we took 2 of them and we shortened them 3/8 of an inch. And that's for this hole here and this hole down here. And that's because the shape of the inner body is really close to the edge of the fender. And so with a shortened bolt, we can get it in there without having it pooch the fender out at all. Now that we've got those sliders installed, let's share with you a couple things we did to make this install a little easier. So we shortened these 2 bolts, these 2 bolts, and these 2 bolts 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch, and that allowed them to tighten up that rocker guard up against the panel a little tighter. There's some inner structure behind there, and with those longer bolts, I think we were hitting in there. Something was binding up. We shortened those bolts and everything went tight. Then on the body mount bolts themselves, we had anti-seized them after we removed them the first time. That made running them up and down each time we pulled those sliders off a lot easier. Just make sure that when you go to your final torque, which is 92 foot-pounds from the factory, that you drop it about 10%. So we torqued them to 80 foot-pounds. And that makes the big difference between a lubricated bolt and a dry bolt. So now we just got to get these out on the trail. Well, it's been a couple weeks and our test mule Gladiator has made it back from a trip across the Rubicon Trail with the Jeep Jamboree USA crowd. And as you can tell, those ARB Rock Sliders definitely got some use and abuse. They took hard enough hits in some places to scrape the powder coating all the way down to the bare metal, which we'll be touching up with some paint later. But they did their job. They protected those big rocker panels from getting bashed in. So are you ready for a set of ARB Rock Sliders for your Gladiator JT or Wrangler JL? Check that description box down below for links to where you can get a set for your Jeep. Then hit up that comment section and let us know. What do you think about the ARB Rock Sliders? Thanks for watching our video. We'll see you again soon.